Show of hands. Who's used or seen NDVI satellite imagery of any kind? So someone did. Okay. So my company is TA Precision, and we're just a service basically run from, like Dean was saying, my family farm back home. Okay. So just to get right into it, what is satellite imagery? It's basically just images of your cropland generated using different bandwidths of light. So our eyes in the human spectrum can only see about 80 nanometers of light within the spectrum. And we've come to learn through vigorous research and lots of trial and error that plants are visual communicators. We as humans are more visual, where plants are more, not visual communicators, excuse me, more in the physical. What they're showing you, what they're trying to tell you through their leaves. But our eyes aren't able to pick that up. Whereas an NDVI image can look at different bandwidths of light that our eyes can't see and generate an image as to what this plant's really trying to tell you. That's pretty much the next slide. So really you have basically two indices that I like to use a lot, which is NDVI and NDRE. NDVI is basically, if you want to think of looking in your crop with a magnifying glass, think of looking into it with like 100 zoom, and NDRE think of it looking into it with 1,000. You're looking that much deeper into the plant to really tell you what it's trying to say and what we can learn from it. So what can we do with it? It's really pretty endless. Like Dean was saying, new things are becoming more and more. We're getting better with it, and we're learning how to use it even better every day. The biggest thing right now, and probably the most popular, I'd say, is in-season adjustments. Being able to look at that crop this year, right now, and say, okay, what's going on? Are we moving up the hill? Are we heading down the hill? Where's yield moving? What's going on? We can also take and create management plans. So basically looking at the crops year in and year out and saying, okay, on the average year, this area performs at X level, and just across the field, this area performs at Y level. Why is that? And then being able to break that down and say, okay, how can we manage this area to increase its productivity while also managing this area in a separate style to increase its productivity? So off of management zones, you can create soil test zones. So how many of you guys have grid soil samples? Okay. Oftentimes what we're starting to see now is that grid soil sample data doesn't correlate to yield. We can't make it fit. And to be able to look at that data and say, okay, here's our calcium, here's our N, here's our P, here's our K. But at the end of the day, what's in the bin is what pays the bills. So by creating management zones, going off the crop, which it'll make more sense when I show you one in a minute. When you take a soil sample by a zone, you're able to get more of a correlation between NPK, boron, mag to yield, which is huge. So based off those management zones, we can go back and we can introduce variable rate applications, whether that's nitrogen, P, K, or even variable rate seed, which we found huge success with a lot of the companies and clients that I've worked with so far. Now another nice thing is test plot and chemical trial analysis, which I've done quite a bit of that for Dean, and I've got some great examples here. So one of the biggest complaints I would say that I get from a lot of farmers is, you know, we're pushed to put on a foliar. We're pushed to go back late and apply something. You know, my co-op reps tell me I need to put this on. So we go and buy the product, put it on, and then when it comes time to shell the corn or cut the beans, we just go cut it. And it's going to rain tomorrow, so we go to the next field. Nobody takes an accurate yield check. You guys got me. We do it too. You know, it's like, oh, okay, you don't need to worry about it. So you spend $8, $10 an acre. Did it do anything? Do we even know? With imagery, we can know. With imagery, you don't lose it if the yield monitor isn't recorded. Imagery's always there. Imagery always has an answer. We can also do yield estimation. It's another thing that Dean mentioned earlier, is looking at that crop early. As far as V4 in corn is our earliest that we can really get pretty accurate within about 5 bushel plus or minus in corn. And Dean will say, okay, right now, V4, we've got the yield potential of 240 bushel. Another image a week later, we're at V5, V6. Where did we go? Did we go down? Did we go up? Did we stay flat? And if so, why? And then being able to address that and make different recs off that. And then historical crop health. like we talked about using your losing yield data, I can go back with imagery as far as 2010. So I can have a great idea of what cornfield X did in 2010, or soybean field X. Whereas our yield monitors, most guys lose their data after a year long, and you never see it again. Imagery's always there. So the first one, I'll touch on a couple issues first. So there's two big issues with satellite imagery. First one's cloud. When you have clouds on top of the field, anytime you're trying to take a picture through the clouds, you get inaccurate data. It's as simple as that. Now where I come from, we have a lot more clouds than it seems like you guys do all the time. Whenever I do work for Dean, it seems no matter what day it is, I can get a picture. Because there's no cloud cover. But different areas of the country where we have more clouds or less clouds, it impacts the availability of the imagery itself. And then another thing is called sensor saturation. So a lot of, as Dean mentioned earlier, a lot of like Green Seeker and imagery services based off of your co-op only have access to NDVI. Okay? And when you get a corn crop or even soybeans and you're completely, I want to say row closure and like V8 to V10 corn, you get so much green mass and so much plant mass that you really block out the variability that you're seeing using an NDVI. But with satellite imagery, we have access to the NDVI, which will be able to dive in deeper and still show you the differences in the crop health, even at V8, V10 corn, or fully covered soybeans. So the first one we're going to look at is in-season adjustments. And any data I've shown you has either been cleared with the client or it's data from myself, so no worries there. So first field here, this is cornfield out of Central Ohio. And he got in touch with me in March of this year and he says, you know, this field, I know that there's some differences in it, look at it and tell me what you think. So he had me start with the management. So if we ignore the yield numbers to start with and just look at the there's 5 management units here. So off of his farm, we were able to get a 6-year average of what his farm performs. And so based on that performance, we drew in these management zones. So off of that, we just looked at it and said, okay, we'll watch it through the year. We didn't verify any of the planting or anything like that. So the first image came back, 6/14, corn was at V4. So this is June 4th. And my color scheme is blue, is a way healthier crop, red's on the very bottom. Okay. So as you can see in zones 1 and 5, he's really strong. But in zone 4, he's already fading heavy. Now mind you, we're only at 4 leaves. This corn's only this long. And he's already falling away this early in the season. In zones 2, 4, and 3 here. So he asked me, he said, what's my yield projection? I said, okay, you ain't gonna like it, but I'll tell you. And so I drew it up, and off of the math, he's at 245 for an average in zone 1, 223 in zone 5, 190 in zone 2, 174 zone 4, and 155 in zone 3. So he called me since I sent it to him. He goes, Dan, there's a lot of variability here. I says, yeah. He goes, what do I do about it? And I says, you need to go hit it with a foliar. And he goes, okay. He goes, well, what kind? And I says, that's not my job. My job's to show it to you. So he got in touch with his agronomist and showed him the image. So they went back with their foliar treatment, as it says here, the very next day. Because he saw this and got all excited and kind of freaked out too. You know, there's a pretty good chunk of bushel right there. So he's all, you know, in gear and ready to go. So he goes back and he calls me and says, we did it. When's my next image? So 2 weeks later, we get an image back. Did he do something? Now granted, had he not had imagery taken, he'd have never touched it. Then you can see what he did with his yield. Now, what's funny about this, he didn't treat zones 1 and 5. He didn't think he needed to. He just wanted to treat, he wanted to level the field. So that's what he did. He leveled the field, but he lost yields. Okay, so he leveled his yields out. The projected yield as of 626 is in yellow on the bottom here. So he pretty much leveled his field out with great increases where he did upon the foliar. But he didn't foliar the whole thing. So he lost some yield here. But his main goal was, he says, I don't like seeing that yellow. I don't like it. I want to see the blue. Well, I sent him the image back and I said, hey, you did good. You didn't apply to 1 out of 5, did you? He goes, no, I didn't think I needed to. So we can see the hit he has here. And so, off of that hit, we can do some cost analysis. So just in these 3 zones, in zone 2 he's got 3 acres, 1 acre, and 13 acres. So the projected yield pre-foliar, you can see it here. Projected yield post-foliar is here. Total bushels, and his return of 350 corn was right around $1,800. So we made quite a bit of money being able to look at him. Now mind you, had he not even seen this, he would have never known. He would have never made the adjustment. In order for us to make decisions and make an impact, we have to know we have an issue. To the naked eye, you couldn't see it, especially in these 4. But imagery doesn't lie. Imagery sees things that we don't. And having this information is what allows us to make better decisions. So, his total cost of the program was $8 an acre to do it. Ended up making $1,600. After he paid me to take the inventory. So, next thing we'll move on to is management zones. So this is actually a form piece of my ground actually. And this is only 5 years. This is just over, this is newer ground. We've only got 5 years of clean data for it. So you can see we've got quite a bit of variability. Now this right here is a dam in the middle of the field to keep water from running out of this tree line. So that's kind of a little deceiving. But everything else is really accurate. Okay? So we look at this and we say, okay, how do we fix it? What do we do? So we say, okay, let's vary our seed. Let's start there. That's the easiest thing to do, right? So we take it and we went and said, okay, our best areas, we're going to set a limit at 37,000. And we're going to set the worst areas at 26. And see what happens. So we go out and we plant these zones. First image after we planted the zones. Okay? Zones still hold true, but we've picked up quite a bit. I'll flash back. So our 5-year average of what the field should look like, what we're able to do with variable rate seed. Questions too, if you ever know you can stop, say something.
Your 5 years, is that all the same crop or is that a blend of crops?
That's a blend of crops looking at stress crop. Wheat, rye, oats, soybeans, and corn.
So you have this done on your farms for 5 years, or you access this through something?
Access the data for 5 years.
How did you come up with the yield establishment of 245 in the cargo?
Let's go back. Back here?
Yes, that number.
This number here. When you take an NDVI, you're given a number. Okay? That number varies from 0 to 1. Knowing crop stage, growing degree units, you can use an algorithm to give you a projected yield. If you're good. Like Dean said, some guys are bad. Sometimes I'm not 100% right either. Like Dean also said, I was trained by one of the best in the business how to do this. So that helps.
Tell us how close you've been coming. Give us the spiel.
At the very end, I'll show you our corn silage trial, where I tried to be perfect. And I'll show you how good I was. But that's how you get an estimated yield. Is the NDVI will give you a number, and then through growth stage, growing degree units, and a little math, you can get to where you need to be. So, step back. Sorry, yeah, seriously, any questions, stop me. This is different stuff.
How many different crops do you do?
I've looked at everything from potatoes in Canada, to squash in southern Ohio, to pumpkins and peppers. Wheat, rye, all the basic things, but anything with a green leaf that's showing that is growing and has life, you can look at through the NDVI.
Question. When you figured out these different zones, did you do that with field computer or with camera?
No, this is purely imagery based. So taking an image every year at what I call stress time, when a corn plant or bean plant or any crop is most likely going to show you its most stress. Take that image, average them all together over how many years we have, and you get your zones.
Can you check yourself in some way or another to see if you're really in the ballpark?
Against yield, you mean?
Yeah,
I'll show you. Keep that in the back of your head. case you don't believe me with NDVI correlate yield. It does, drastically. Yes?
What determines to you stress time? You have a certain month or
I like to look at growth stage.
rainfall?
Growth stage and rainfall are big. With corn, I like V8 to V10. That's right when that corn plant's getting ready to get in gear, start shoving stuff down. And soybeans, I like just pre-flower. So for where I'm from, that's usually July. My goal is usually between the 16th and the 26th of July, that 10-day window, usually for us. But depending where I'm at, if I'm looking at potatoes in Canada, that's a whole different, stress-filled time for that crop. Or even looking at corn for bean, for you guys out here, is a whole different time. Yep.
Is this the same type of imagery as being used in climate?
Climate's going to give you an NDVI. Climate can't give you an NDVI. Okay. And climate view also is not being looked at by human eyes. So if you have a cloud, like we talked about earlier, climate is computerized going to cut squares around that cloud. I don't know if you've seen climate imagery, but you'll have a squared out cut in one of your days. And the worst part about climate, not picking on climate, but if that cloud's sitting here, okay, and the sunlight's here, coming from this direction, just the area of the cloud won't be affected in the data. As that sunlight comes through the cloud, that cloud puts a shadow on the rest of the field. Climate doesn't take that into account. And so that data is not calibrated because a human's not looking at it. So that data, you can be watching your field in climate, it looks so good, and then boom, and it's not really there. That's I'll talk about that later too, about some warning things and stuff you need to look out for in other imagery-based companies.
Now, when you do this from your office, or are you on the line?
I'm in the office. I don't have to step foot on it. Works best for me and for you. Cheaper and faster.
So how do you know the difference if it's a cloud or if it's really something that's going on?
Before I download any imagery, you look at it with the bare naked eye in our line, and you can see if the cloud's present. And see how the cloud shadow appears on the field. And if I have shadow in the field, I don't use it. It's the only way you can guarantee 100% that your imagery is accurate. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions before we get back to management? Okay. So, with our 5-year average, we adjusted it with variable rate seed. That's how we went after it. We got some impact. Now, granted, we didn't get perfect. We're still off here. We're still off here. There's a lot of soil compaction here. This is where the driveway is, but we're still off it. But we were able to make a difference. So now we can correlate it to yield. Question about yield. You tell me. We look about the same. Yield and NDVI would line up within 90% all the time. Now granted, this image was taken, I think, the 1st of August. So we're pretty close to, from my perspective, or our crops anyways, of that corn plant finishing up when it's going to show the worst of the stress. Because as your crop progresses through the year, your image will change. As that crop is getting healthier, is in decline, and the most recent image will give you the most closely related yield data. So we go to the yield data, and as you can see, that one kind of blends in, but we average 245 in this front zone here, 228 here, 182 here, 239, 160, and 163. But the zone that's most impressive is this right here, 182 bushel corn on 26,000 seeds. The numbers are rounded up to account for planter inefficiencies, is why we round up like that. But basically, you can assume 26,000 seeds. And we were able to take a zone that generally performed poorest in the field and make it profitable. Now granted, they can't compete with the rest of these areas. And I'll get into why that is later, and I think it has a lot to do with what we've heard all day with biological activity. were able to make a difference. We can go from here to here to here. So some analysis on this. In the population, we have all the zones, the acres in the zones, the variable rate population versus what we traditionally plant, our seed savings, and if you notice, we planted more than our traditional in the zone. So you have a loss here. Okay. But seed savings, if the corn was $250 a bag, $480. Now we also varied the nitrogen on this field too, according to the population we varied. So you get the same thing, zones, acres, gallons we varied, what we traditionally put down, the difference, and the cost savings we recognize. So if we look at total investment, per acre return, $16.30. By varying the seed, varying the nitrogen. So now we'll get into some test plot candidate crops, like we talked about earlier. This example comes from a farmer just to the north. He goes, me and my brothers, we farm together. He goes, I do all the spraying, and I always want to spray a foliar. And everybody else says, no, we don't need to spray foliar. But everybody else won't give me a yield check, so I keep buying the foliar. He goes, I'm going to leave strips. I'm going to leave 100-foot strips. I want you to look and see if you can find it. It was pretty obvious. Ended up being a main bushel is what he got out of the soybean foliar. I gave this to him and I said, you can keep buying the foliar. It's going to be okay. But he'd have never known. Because the yield data gets lost, it's going to rain tomorrow, let's go to the next field. My yield monitor's not calibrated because I don't have time to do that. How many of us have been there? Satellite imagery, satellite data doesn't have to be calibrated. We can access it any time of the year, and it's accurate. If this example is not enough for foliars, here's another one. Dean, you should pick this one out right away. Can we see the difference? And even up here, can we see the difference right here? Now we're blessed enough to have a flight plan of this in case you couldn't believe the image itself. There's the flight plan. There's where we applied. Hole right here. Hole right here. Did the foliar work? Yes. So, one of the things I mentioned earlier, sensor saturation. Talking about your NDVI, this is V8 corn. Okay? This has also been varied in NDVI. So, back to the climate that we talked about earlier. If you have climate, that's what you'll see. Okay? Looking at that, we look perfect, don't we? We did it. We're varied all the way from 24,000 to 35 here. We did our job, right? It's perfect. Let's retire. This is an NDVI V8 corn. You're going to get sensor saturation. You're not going to be looking in close enough. There's too many leaves. We have NDVI. We still got variability. We're still off here. We're still off up front. We still have a hole in the 35 area. We look at that, we think we're done, we can quit. The fact of the matter is there's still variability, folks. That's the blessing of having the NDVI. We can look even deeper. Look past the massive amounts of leaf area and look into that crop and say what's going on. We're still stressed here. We're still losing yield up front. That looks great though. And that's good. That's the first step. But here's how we get even better.
What's the acronym stand for? Yeah.
The NDVI is Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. NDRE, Normalized Difference with the red edge. So you're looking at another bandwidth of light that's even finer too.
And so both of those are your satellite images, is that right?
Yep, same day. And I can't stress it enough. Looking at a basic imagery provided through your co-op, through climate, even through a lot of drone data, you'll see this. When this is what we really need to be looking at. If we're going to truly push the limits.
Like on the current climate, you'll pick up just the leaf structure. So you've got 3 hybrids on it, it freaks people out, and it doesn't always correlate to, you've got the reddest area in climate, even the best yield on the backside. What's your resolution?
This image here, taken by this satellite, 15 by 15. Is your pixel size, I should say. I've worked for a guy in New York. He has apple orchards that we look at. And his apples are spaced on 25-foot rows. You can pick up each apple row. And for him, we did a lot of basically what variety of apple responded differently to treatment. And it was perfect because we could pinpoint that whole row and compare apple row to apple row to apple row to apple row. So now we'll get into some yield estimations, where I can kind of pound my chest a little bit and say I'm pretty good. So here's our NDVI of 626.18. This is projected. This is going to be corn silage. This is our farm too. So I've had 2 years, 3 years of data to get pretty good with it. So here's my projections. 14, this is in tons. 14.8, 28.3, 21.5, 19.2. Across the scales. 15, 29, 21, 19. June 26, V4 corn. Across the scales, we track. We can be pretty good. If we have correct data, we have calibrated data without cloud cover, we can be pretty good. Now, if we have cloud cover data and we attempt to calibrate out the clouds, that's what we can run in the truck. We can be off.
So where you had the 15, you had pretty high population compared to the 34. You had twice the tons.
We were expecting better out of this bad zone, and when the corn got out of the ground, it wasn't really there. We're not always perfect.
I'm just saying
it's kind of shocking, isn't it? You know, you plant, you're only 4,000 seeds less and almost half the tonnage.
Question for you. Okay, so this is all very good, but you said that you've had experience with these grounds before, and that helped you get so good. Tell me about that experience that you had with this farm. How did you get that? What experience do you get?
I've looked at it for 2 years. It's been in the program where I've done yield estimations.
Did you have yield? Okay, so you had yield estimations, and you knew how to read it because you had sort of figured out what you meant.
Not necessarily. It's more having an understanding of where the crop is as far as growth stage, growing degree days. If you know that piece of information and know when the image was taken, so image taken, 626, corns V4, growing degree units X, we can get pretty close. So if I go to Canada and look at the takers, if we know growth stage, we know growing degree units, we can get pretty close. Tons of corn silage, bushels of wheat. Does that answer your question?
So it's timing.
Growth stage. Because as any plant grows and matures, your leaf area increases. So your average value of your NDVI is also going to increase. So if we use the same basic equations and algorithms at a lower growth stage that we do at a higher growth stage, you have inaccurate data. Does that make sense? So having an understanding of where that corn is, being where the crop is in its growth stage, is critical to making an accurate yield estimation.
Okay, so it wasn't site specific, it was growth stage.
Yes.
So how
decide, when I sit down with growers and they open up on that, it's really we look at this map, and we really say, we start with the basics. What's our yield goal? Let's be honest. We know that we're not going to grow 300 bushel corn, so let's not treat it like we can. And for a lot of growers, including my father included, it's hard for us to swallow that pill that my ground's not good enough. And we're laughing because we know it's true. We struggle with it too. Well, I should be able to grow 200 bushel corn here. The fact is, you can right now. Maybe in the future with added biologicals and better management practices, we can. But currently, you can't. And so we sit down and we say, okay, let's set a yield goal of 180 bushel. How many seeds do we think we have to get to 180 bushel? For us, we thought we could get there with 26 stock. Other areas, we think, okay, let's try to grow 250 bushel corn. Can we get there with 34,000? Maybe. We have a better chance at 35, 36? We thought so. That's very, very grower